Well, breaking news coming in this afternoon. The Hawks made 14 arrests in a corruption operation. The arrest for part of a national campaign against fraud at the licensing centres. Police have arrested 7 officials at Benoni testing station. The arrests were made during a surprise site visit by the Minister of Transport, Natasha Peary, and the Gauteng MEC for Transport, Ismail Vadi. Let's get an update now. We are joined by ANN7 reporter Natasha Peary, who joins us live from the ANN7 newsroom. Good afternoon to you, Natasha. 14 arrests made with regards to corruption within the licensing centre across the country. What do we know so far?
Well, very good afternoon to you, Abigail, and to the viewers at home. Indeed, 14 people have been arrested in connection with corruption and actually selling the sale of those driver's license, which range from a price of 2,000 to 5,000 rand. So far at the Benoni licensing department, 7 people have been arrested, and those include 2 ladies. Quite an eventful day. Actually, this was supposed to be just a simple site visit by the Ministry of Transport. We saw Natasha Peary, who is the Minister of Transport in the country. Also saw MEC Ismail Vadi and the MMC of Transport actually just conducting a normal site visit, but to their surprise then a raid was actually conducted. And Abigail, we just got visuals also that was found of money, and that money was actually used to bribe these officials. Natasha Peary is very, very disappointed, indicating that this actually indicates that there's a huge rot within the Ministry of Transport. In that, I mean, the minute an official actually issues out a fraudulent driver's license, that is when you actually give permission for a person who doesn't even know how to drive to actually kill a person. So, I mean, subsequently, these people actually do contribute to the road carnages that we actually see on our roads. We also heard the CEO of the RTMC, Dembski, also coming out welcoming the arrest, but also saying that officials, actually corrupt officials, should be brought to the book. Abigail.
Natasha, let's just listen into some of the bites from when those arrests were made. You interacted with the Hawks as well as the Minister. Let's take a listen into what was said. After that, we'll continue this conversation.
I believe that if you look at the number that the Hawks leadership here was actually apprehending, it tells you that the rot is big. If in one station we could see so many arrests being effected, so I actually got worried, because it shows me the size and magnitude of the problem that we have got to deal with.
All in all, 14 people were arrested, 7 in Secunda and 5 here in Benoni.
Okay. It's a day for the department, particularly on this Transport Month. However, we need to compliment the work that has been done by the law enforcement agencies, in particular the Hawks, for having unearthed the wrath of corruption. We are an institution that at all material times we emphasize the need to serve the public without any expectation or reward. But what we have seen from our own employees leaves much to be desired, but it is something that we detest as an organization, particularly on the basis that most of the South African citizens have lost their loved ones due to some of the drivers who are not competent and who are not supposed to be on our roads, and some of the unroadworthy vehicles because of this type of activities.
Well, let's continue the conversation with ANN7 reporter Natasha Perry, coming to us live from the ANN7 newsroom. Natasha, listening to what the minister said there, she touched on the size and the magnitude of this problem and ultimately the impact it could have on the country. Just talk us through some of those charges, why these people have been arrested.
Definitely, Abigail. They've been arrested on charges of corruption also, and actually fraud as well, because, I mean, as you understand, these licenses are not meant to be sold to the general public, but of course people have been complaining numerous times that sometimes they get sold their driver's license, and unfortunately if they don't have any money to pay, then subsequently that is when they fail. She also said to other officials that she was addressing in the morning that, I mean, let this be a lesson to other corrupt officials that they will not tolerate any corruption within their department. She also lauded the police also for actually cracking the whip. And just speaking to the Hawks, they have indicated that more and more of these operations will actually happen. This is just the first of its kind, and they will be cracking the whip on other testing stations as well. The public is also they also appealed, to the public to actually report any corrupt activities. So we expected to see more of these operations coming through, Abigail.
Natasha, just be on standby for us. We will come back to you to continue this conversation. But on the phone line now, we are joined by Justice Project South Africa's Howard Dembski. Good afternoon to you, Howard, and thank you for joining us here on ANN7. First and foremost, your reaction to the arrest of 14 officials within the licensing department. The minister talking about the size and the magnitude of the corruption within South Africa's licensing department. What are your comments?
Well, Abigail, thanks for having me on. The fact is that it's driving license corruption is systemic, and the arrest of 14 people out of 2 driving license testing centers really does represent a drop in the ocean as to the size of this problem. So the minister is quite correct that this problem is system-wide. It is not limited to 1 or 2 driving license testing centers. It's been going on for a very, very long time now. These people have been getting more and more brazen, and it's a definite contributor to road fatalities and road injuries on our roads, because if you're selling driving licenses to people who are not qualified to drive those motor vehicles, it's going to be an inevitable outcome that those people are going to crash.
With regards to action that needs to be taken now, yes, people have been arrested, they will be charged and have their days in court. But what further action do you think needs to be taken with regards to corruption within the licensing department? How do we get rid of this issue?
Well, I think that there's a couple of components that are actually required here. First off is when these people are convicted, they need to be given very harsh sentences. And I'm not talking about 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 years in prison. They need to be sentenced to the maximum term in prison because they are actually guilty of killing people on our roads. So let's please remember that. We need to send a very clear message that corruption will not be tolerated, and we need to put these people behind bars for the rest of their life, basically. That's the first. Secondly, we need to get proactive in all of the driving license testing centers throughout the country to make sure that we implement measures to, number one, detect, and number 2, deter corruption. It's all very well that you keep chasing your tail after the fact. But what we need to do is start getting proactive about this and start making it physically impossible for corruption to actually thrive in these environments.
Well, thank you very much, Howard, for your time this afternoon. We appreciate you chatting to us here on ANN7. That was Mr. Howard Dembski from the Justice Project South Africa, just chatting to us about the arrest of 14 officials inside the licensing departments of the country. 2 licensing departments. They have been arrested for fraud and corruption. Let's go back to ANN7 reporter now, Natasha Peary, for more details here. Natasha, speaking to Mr. Dembski about, measures that could be put in place to try and curb these sort of fraud and corruption cases from happening. Did you get a chance to maybe speak to the minister or the MEC about the plan going forward and what they will be implementing to try and curb this?
Well, Abigail, they just actually literally just took us through a plan saying that they've actually got an anti-corruption unit within the department and urging also other officials to actually call in and report those corrupt officials. They've also called for other officials as well to not be complacent and just watch, while everything just happens in front of them. Instead, report on this corruption. But I mean, it's still a mammoth task, a tall order in front of them, but they will be cracking the whip on these officials. As to those arrested, we have yet to hear when they will appear in court soon on charges of fraud and corruption, Abigail.
Also, Natasha, listening to Howard just a short while ago, he said that, these people found doing these corrupt things should be arrested and given the maximum sentence because ultimately their actions are directly impacting on the amount of fatalities we are seeing on our roads. Did the minister touch on that?
Abigail, and what just Howard was just saying that, I mean, selling your fraudulent driver's license to people is somewhat a catalyst, and just to actually the road carnages that we actually see on the road. RTMC also they're saying that, I mean, this needs to stop, as so many people are dying on the road. There's so much lawlessness rather on the road as a result of this. So definitely both stakeholders actually just coming out against this matter.
Natasha, just lastly, do we know when these individuals will be appearing in court?
Unfortunately, Abigail, we're not so sure at this present moment. All the Hawks actually told us about that they have been arrested. They are in police custody. They will, update us with the further developments in regards to the story. But we do know that they are set to appear very soon.
Thank you very much, Natasha, for the update. We'll check in with you later to see if there are any further developments here. ANN7 reporter Natasha Peary coming to us live from the ANN7 newsroom with regards to the arrest of 14 licensing department officials who have been arrested and charged with fraud and corruption. We will keep our viewers up to date.